This is Steve Robbins. Welcome to the Get It Done Guys quick and dirty tips to work less and do more. Listener Quentin writes in, I've just left my job. I followed the advice in your episode on how to leave a job. There's a link in this episode's transcript, so I'm leaving a good impression. What else should I do to wrap up myself? Quentin, your timing is perfect, because while you search and search for a job that isn't going to be taken over by robots within 6 months of your start date, you have an unprecedented opportunity to milk your former job for everything it's worth. And by that, I mean knowledge. Long ago, early in my career, I disagreed with a senior person at my job. I was informed in no uncertain terms that he had 30 years of experience, and so he must be right. Nope, I was right. He had 30 years worth of experience, but it was 1 year repeated 30 times. Experience only counts if you learn from it. When leaving a job, while it's still fresh in your mind, it's the perfect time to use it as a learning experience. No, really. Breathe in and out. And now say to yourself, it wasn't a mistake. It was a learning experience. Also, polish that oil lamp you got at the garage sale and a genie will come out. Boom! Ha! But seriously, you actually can learn from your experience. So set aside an hour or two for reflection and get down to it. Start by getting a piece of engineering graph paper with a wide first column and 5 narrow columns. You can visit getitdoneguy.com/engineer to download a free PDF. In the first column, list all of the major failures and conflicts that you can remember from the job, even some of the successes, the major events. Now, no one but you is going to look at this, so you can abbreviate. You can list things like conference hotel, corporate logo fiasco, landed the huge deal, the promised raise, and whipped cream incident. Now consider each item in turn. Conference hotel. My friend attended a conference, and he wanted to have everything prepared, so he asked the front desk, I'm planning to have clients come up to the room. Can I make arrangements to get them let into the elevator? Because it required a key card. The clerk asked, Are you with the conference? Yes, he replied. We're sorry, sir. If you're with the conference, then you're not allowed to have guests up to your room. Yes, this actually happened. If he hadn't been at the conference, it would have been fine, but somehow, as a conference guest, he couldn't. And that wasn't stipulated anywhere in any of the paperwork. Write that down and put a check mark in the first narrow column. Label that column WTF, which stands for What the Frack. Anytime an incident was caused by something that you didn't know, but that no reasonable person in the world could possibly have known, it gets a WTF checkmark. Later, you're going to read the WTF items, and you will remember them for the future, but don't beat yourself up for them. There's no way you could have known. Next is corporate logo fiasco. So, it is true. You jokingly told the graphic designer, why don't you just use a silhouette of Taylor Swift eating a banana as our corporate logo? The graphic designer took you seriously, and Taylor Swift was not amused. This gets a checkmark in the second column. Label it My Bad. These are things that you need to consider seriously and decide how you'll change your behavior next time. In this case, the solution is obvious. Make sure to tell people when your suggestion is a joke, and just to be safe, only joke about celebrities for whom the statute of limitations has expired. Landed the huge deal. Well, it turns out that you did in fact land the deal to supply brains for the zombie general's army. What you didn't do is recognize that the zombie general was not in your sales territory. Oops. Now, at your last company, salespeople were very relaxed about territory, and a cross-territory sale would have been dealt with by simply splitting the commission. But at your new company, cross-territory sales is considered slightly worse than giving fire to the human beings. Just be thankful you aren't being chained to a rock having your liver eaten by crows. So, put a check mark in the third column and label this column cultural fit. These are things that might be fine depending on a company's culture, but they might not be. So anything with a check mark in this column is worth checking out separately when you enter a new job. And then remember when the big boss promised you the raise if you met your sales quota? You assumed that meant, well, that you'd get the raise if you met your sales quota. But after hitting your numbers, your boss explained, I meant you got the raise if we didn't need the money for something else. Oops. Sometimes we make assumptions about what a promise means or about how a contract works. It's super important to clarify these things by asking good questions and then confirming the answers in an email so you have a paper trail. Checkmark the fourth column and label it I should have asked. And then, lastly, there's the whipped cream incident. Now, this is a G-rated podcast, so we're not going to go into any details. but it's the incident that made you realize that your boss is crazy. Not like figure of speech crazy, but like seriously bat guano crazy. Like this person shouldn't be allowed to walk their dog without a chaperone crazy. So put a check mark in the 5th column and label it Wacko Boss. Although we often learn more from our failures than our successes, success is a great teacher as well, so add one more column and label it Success. Any incidents that were especially good or which had explicit lessons about what worked get a check mark in this column. Now, categorize all of your major incidents using this grid. Now you have your learning agenda. Review the WTF items for ad hoc things to remember in the future that you just have to learn from experience. The my bad and I should have asked items are genuine opportunities to learn. Review them, learn, and decide what you'll do differently next time. The cultural learning becomes part of your due diligence checklist. When you start a new job, this column highlights the questions that you can ask and the things that you should know early on so that you don't screw up. And then, of course, the Wacko Boss items get stored away in your idea file for your first novel, because sometimes life genuinely is stranger than fiction. And of course, the success column becomes a list of things that you want to keep handy in the future, because they just may be how you achieve awesome things. Quentin, when it's time to leave a job, make sure to take everything you can. Not the stationary supplies, but the learning. Use an explicit process where you review major events, you categorize them, and that will help you think through which are lessons that you can take with you anywhere, which will apply some places and not others, and which only apply to your prior company or boss. And when all else fails, keep a spare can of whipped cream in your bottom desk drawer. I'm sure I don't have to tell you why. This is Steve Robbins. Follow Get It Done Guy on Twitter and Facebook. I run programs to help people develop the kick-ass business skills they need to create an extraordinary life. If you want to know more, visit steverrobbins.com or join my personal mailing list by texting Get It Done to 33444. You'll also get a free copy of my secret book chapter on how to build relationships that help you succeed. Work less, do more, and have a great life.